So welcome back to the show, guys, and today we're going to be looking at a very cheap, very simple and rather easy mob farm to build. Let's have a little bit of a look at it and go through what we need to do to build this. So first of all, my standing platform is 13 blocks above that center platform and 36 blocks away from it. So if you see that little black square right in the middle there, right below where that water stream is, you should be able to see a little bit more clearer in a few seconds. There it is, that little black block that you see. I'm actually 13 blocks above that and also 36 blocks away from it. So the clock system, well, I've had to design this a little bit more simple than what you would normally find in a lot of builds, simply because I wanted to make this something that you could build really early on in Minecraft. So I'm talking the first couple hours, that sort of thing. Now, there is ice blocks here. You don't have to use ice blocks. I tend to find that it just has less issues if you have them. If you don't, then it's not too big of an issue. How this is working is, as you probably have guessed already, the zombie basically just is the clock system. It's instead of using something like redstone or something like that, the zombie just goes around continuously in a circle and occasionally activates the circuit. So, what do you need? Well, there's a few different things. I've added in 2 pressure plates. Now, the pressure plates, how they work is that the block that they're on is actually a water source block. You need to actually have it on a water source block. You can't have it, say, on one of the stream blocks that you get after it, simply because it'll actually stop the water from traveling any further. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, the other thing is that we're actually using the upstream technique. So if we have a look over here, you'll actually notice that in Java version and Bedrock version, we have an upstream effect with water. So you have the source block that's down there, same as this sort of setup, but once the stream blocks come down to this point, if we have it leading towards only on a diagonal towards another source block that's also flowing away, it'll actually flow up into it. So it's kind of like it's defying gravity a little bit. It's literally a stream that's going upwards. It also works, I'll mention, with soul sand elevators. So if you want to have something like this where you have say a mob that needs to go up an elevator, just simply replace this with an elevator here and it will work just the same. You don't need to have the rest of the stream or anything like that. Just have a soul sand elevator and the same upstream effect will exist. Kind of a bit of a cool little hint. So aside from that, it's not too complicated. I've added these little bit of an extra platforms here, just so that they're above those ones over there, so to make sure that the glass blocks don't have sky access. It should really help to stop mobs spawning on these, since that we've now had a new update, again in Bedrock, and glass blocks are now spawnable again, which it's good and bad. At least it fixes some of the problems with mobs not spawning underneath glass blocks. At the same point, they can now spawn on top of them, so it seems like it's a bit of an issue still, but it's a lesser of two evils, I think, so that shouldn't be too much of a problem. Haven't actually seen it occur myself yet, but that's from what I've heard from a few other channels. I'm using leaf blocks, obviously, to cover up the sun here. I kind of prefer this over the slab idea, just because the slabs it's always a bit questionable in my mind what's going to be the best position, where this is quite honestly quite simple, and you can't really go wrong. Now, in the very center, of course, as you can probably see, is our dispenser, and it simply has a water bucket inside it, so nothing too complicated there. With the leaf blocks, you just got to make sure that you cover in all the areas above your platform, just to make sure that there's no sort of issues as far as any sort of light getting through. I will also say that it may break in the future, simply because we are getting ray tracing in Windows 10 version, hopefully at some point, and it may cause a lot of issues with how the light paths start to work and things like that. So you might find that the leaf blocks no longer actually produce the darkening effect like it used to, and you may no longer get mob spawning if RTX is enabled. I don't know, I'm taking a bit of a punt and a guess here, but If I was a betting man, I'd probably say it's going to destroy this farm, which is okay. I have no problems with it ruining my farm. Absolutely no problem at all. So the clock system is very basic. If you need to have a bit more of a look at it, pause the video of course, and you'll see that it's fairly sort of simple. The other thing here is, of course, I'm using 2 levels of signposts, I'll say. So you've got a signpost up here and a signpost down there, and the water stream's here. When you go to place the water stream though, don't place it on the fence because you'll waterlog the fence. Place a block here, then place it against that block right there. You don't want to go waterlogging this because water will just go everywhere, break everything. It will be an absolute mess and a disaster. I will also mention that the glass blocks up here have to be glass or maybe slab. Slab might work. If it's a solid block like wood or something like that, it's probably going to be stopping mobs from spawning. The other glass blocks down here, don't worry about that. It should be perfectly fine, whatever you choose. I've simply just made it glass to make it a little bit easier to see through, although in hindsight it doesn't really make it that much easier. Oh well. I try. I really do some days. So we'll just wait for this clock system to get to the end. It doesn't take too long. It's a pretty good clock system actually. I haven't really had much problems. Also, you want to name tag the zombie. If you can, try and get one with a helmet on or something like that, just so if he does somehow splash out of the water, he's not going to die. And let's have a little bit of a look at Ilmango's platform style. So it's not too different to what he has. We have a center block here, then we have 6 blocks going out in each direction, making up our diamond shape. And then from here we have just simply 8 blocks going out for our lower diamond area, just so that we've got something nice and big to deal with. This design here, you don't have to use it like I've got it here. It's really a personal sort of choice. You could just have a big flat platform if you really wanted to, as long as it's got enough sort of gap of an area just so the mobs can get over, but also that they're not able to get onto any sort of other blocks. So that's why I'm mainly using the downstreams for, just so that you can get mobs into it and it's not going to really cause any sort of issues. If we go down here, of course, we've got this bit of a step down because it's a fairly large sort of platform, so we need to extend the water. And if we go down here, you can see that it's a 40 block drop straight into here. And we can have a little bit of a look. Of course, I've apparently killed some illagers, some spiders, things like that, gunpowder. You do occasionally get witches here, which is good as well. I will also mention, while we are down here and looking at the ground, that it's probably been mentioned in a few videos before. I definitely know that Silent Whisperer has mentioned it a few times, that depending on what biome you're building this above is actually going to affect what kind of mobs are actually spawning. So as you can see, I've got a bit of a forest, I've got a bit of a grassland below us. If you built this above, say, a desert, you're going to get husks spawning up there. If you build this above an ocean, you're probably going to get some drowned. I do know that you get a lot of fish during the day, so be prepared for that. Having an absolute lifetime supply worth of fish, which would be maybe useful for trading, but that's probably about it. As you can see, the mobs are still spawning. You get a pretty good sort of rate for this kind of speed. It's not too bad. I mean, the platform's fairly sort of small, all fairly sort of simple, and I've got a little bit of an extra sort of deal going on here. So these are my zombies that I've been keeping around here. You'll see that there's actually one in each of these corners, and they're also sitting in a bit of water. Again, you want to name tag them, that sort of thing, probably block them in on top as well. The reason why I actually have them is mainly because I'm trialing a little bit of an idea as to trying to make sure that there's less issues with spawning. So it seems that having the zombies there seems to actually help with the spawning rate a little bit. Maybe it's just my perception of the situation occurring, but it definitely seems like there's a lot of mobs actually spawning on that platform sometimes, and I think that it actually does help. There may be some sort of spawning mechanic that exists. I mean, the spawn rates are definitely pretty good for a platform of this size, especially in Bedrock version. We don't normally see these sort of spawning rates. Yeah, if it's worth a shot, that's all I'm saying. And if it does increase spawn rates, so be it. If it doesn't, well, it's a bit of decoration really, so you can't really complain about that, can you? I hope that this has helped some of you guys. I know that the early game sort of mob farms aren't very plentiful in Bedrock version, so something like this should definitely help out quite a number of players. I think it should be fairly mobile friendly, fairly sort of console friendly. I can't even imagine the Switch having too many sort of issues with it at all. It's pretty simple. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you like it, drop a like on the video and all that sort of jazz and blah 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 blah. Catch you in the next one, and thank you for watching as always.